Hey everyone, welcome to this week's live stream. We're going to be analyzing Star Wars data. I'm Heather, and this is...
my name is Hisham Al-Masri.
Awesome.
Yep. I'll be following along, actually, some of this analyzing in MATLAB Online.
Yes, so just as a little background, I work in the MATLAB team on data science, product marketing, and
I'm the product manager for MATLAB Online and MATLAB Drive.
And that explains his love for MATLAB Online.
Of course.
So anyway, thank you for joining us. This is going to be awesome. I'm really, really pumped for this one. So we have some Star Wars data. I'm clearly in the spirit, maybe not full costume, but at least, I don't know, got my hair did like Leia.
Yes.
So very exciting. Okay, so let's just dive in. So hopefully people in the comments, we want to hear your questions and hear what you want to learn about. Basically, that's the fun part of data science, just poking around and seeing what's going on and learning new things. So I've spent a lot of time with this data because that's what I do at work, is like mess around with Star Wars data. But you know, if whatever comes to your mind, just put it in the chat and we'll just kind of go with the flow. There's also code on File Exchange that we'll put a link, or maybe there's already a link already, and you can just follow along with the code, so there's no special magic happening.
Yep.
And we'll share anything that we come up with. All right, should we just dive in?
Let's go in.
Just do it.
Yeah,
all right.
Let's get there.
Awesome. Okay, so I have written, okay, let's start out with, there's a Star Wars information out there, right? So Wikipedia is a great source. There's also this Swappi, it's just SWAPI, the Star Wars API, which I really love because it's really collected in like JSON format, so it's really easy to read. They have a bunch of different readers. I'm showing it on my screen if that's happening right now. So anyway, you can access a bunch of the data and then you can, analyze it. So fortunately, it has only up to the Force Awakens data. It is open source, so hopefully we can add the data that we want whenever we want to. So that's cool. So we're gonna bring in the data from this source, and then we'll add a little bit of data from just scraping the web, and then we'll analyze. So I mentioned, we'll put the link out there, but there's a function called Swappi Read, or SWAPI Read. Oh wow, sorry.
Now they can find this also on our File Exchange, right?
Exactly. So somehow I think we have a link somewhere. Don't mind this like weird looking. Actually, okay, it's gonna bug me. Okay.
Oh, no worries.
Default. So I usually use a dark background MATLAB. So whenever I change it, I have to make sure.
There's the dark side and light side of the Force.
Exactly.
You gotta have dark side and light side of MATLAB as well.
I still didn't change it, but that's okay.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, the function just brings in, you can type the collection. So you have like planets, species, people, all that good stuff. And what it'll do is bring in the whole collection, and it does a bunch of data reorganization. So I'm going to show this example. And again, hopefully somebody can put the link in the comments for people that want to follow along. You also could find it if you have MATLAB open. You should be able to find it from add-ons. If you just open up add-ons and type Star Wars API, you should be able to just download it right there.
So how do you do that?
Oh, all right, let's do it. Why not? So there we go, add-ons. This is where you get all the exciting stuff. There's really serious things too, like important neuroscience toolboxes. But there's a lot of really fun stuff too. You can parse by games. So there it is, the very same.
So I can find all these amazing things within the desktop itself.
Yep, totally. So anybody right now, you can just go to it and go have at it. And you could even just if you don't want to download it right now, you could just look at the example that I'm showing. It's right here.
Yep.
So awesome. Okay, so the way that this is organized, the way that the database is set up is, record by record. It's just a JSON record. So, for example, you could actually just use web read to just bring in the data for one record at a time. So you could loop through. Luke Skywalker happens to be the first. So you see you have all kinds of fun information about the character. Blue eyes, blonde hair. Dreamboat for Tatooine.
And birth year, 19 BBY, before the Battle of Yavin, for all you Star Wars fans out there.
Very good. I've actually tried to petition our datetime object to have that as one of the time units, but I was not successful. Too bad. Okay, so yeah, we can keep doing this. There's a bunch of, you can just do this one at a time. But I want to bring in all of the people data so that we can, analyze it better. So I'm using the Swappi Read. And one thing, the reason that it's taking a bit, well, that was shocking. I was taking a bit earlier, is because it's reading and then just looping through a bunch of different records. So as you can see, we have Luke Skywalker was our first record, the same kind of info, and we have info for as many characters as have been entered into the database. So quite a few of our favorites, like Darth Vader and Owen and whatnot. So let's take a look. I'll just open it up in the variable editor. So this is one thing, if you don't know about MATLAB, you can just kind of click around on things. You don't have to just start writing code. Just check it out. So what should we check out? Hair colors, or what do you want to know? What homeworlds they're from, maybe? I don't know.
Well, I don't know. Well, how many droids versus humans there were?
Ooh. Okay, good. So that is species. So if you click on, let me just open that. So if you click on stuff, you can see all the plots that are available to you. So this is a word cloud. That one has a word cloud. Makes sense. There's words.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
A lot of humans.
So you can see right away. I'm impressed that Gungan is up there pretty high as well.
Yeah, that one, the first one was like a lot. There were a lot of Jar Jars around in that one. So another, we started out by saying we could see if Luke was a little short for a stormtrooper.
Right, the famous question by Princess Leia.
Yes. So let's find out. So let's make a histogram. That's like a really boring plot. But this is the histogram of the height. And I don't know, that's like 200 centimeters, something like that. And if you take a look at Luke's, I actually have code written, I think, to do this. Maybe I'll just, wait. Well, he's the first one, so it doesn't matter. So I guess I could just go back. But he's 172.
I'm going to assume centimeters.
Centimeters, probably.
Metric system.
So he's pretty much right in there, right? So I actually have code to plot the line on there. Let me just show you. Yeah, so if you want to do it the fancy way, to select it instead of just eyeballing it, this is how you would do it. So I'm just selecting, Luke Skywalker and then passing that in to get his height. So 172. The mean is 174. This is pretty much average in the universe. And if you look at the histogram, he's like basically like right in the middle there. So that's the red one. Sorry if colorblind, but red and orange.
So he's
right
a
in the middle.
little bit below the mean for regards to height.
And so, wait, you had a great idea. So I was thinking, okay, well, we know Finn used to be a stormtrooper. Like, there's no clear way to get a stormtrooper information out of it. But we know Finn was a stormtrooper. But if you look at the database, like I think since it was new, we don't have as much information. And so he has missing data for the height. So it doesn't help.
But if we do know from the first 3 movies and the prequels, the stormtroopers were actually clones of the original Jango Fett. And Jango Fett and Boba Fett are actually clones of each other as well. So we could see if Luke is shorter than either Jango or Boba Fett.
Ooh, let me see. Do you know how to spell Fett?
It's 2 T's.
2 T's,
yeah,
thank you.
Let's see from there.
Oh my God, look at that.
And look at that, the same
they're
height.
183, wow. Well, that's, I guess that makes sense if they're clones. Oh, it's a little bit more. Maybe you can like.
Well, I mean, the clones would be high, but maybe it's with the armor. Who knows? It
could be. Yeah, you never know. Okay, so 180. So I guess maybe it could be a little short. I don't know. It's still in the same ballpark.
Right.
We could do more stats, but.
Yeah, but I think Luke is definitely. Well, Luke was what, 172?
172. So, 10 centimeters.
10 centimeters. That's about. I don't know at home, but that's big. So yeah.
All right, solved it. Okay, so next, what do we got? Any questions?
Well, we have a lot of Star Wars related questions.
Yes, perfect.
But some of the stuff is not in the data set we have, which leads to us describing the importance of data. So in terms of how many colors of the lightsaber there were, well, unfortunately the data set does not have that.
That's, yes, unfortunate.
Yeah, but red, green,
3.
blue, purple,
Oh, green, right.
Yeah.
And Mace Windu. Purple.
We'll find out.
Good one, though.
Yeah. But so what other visualizations can we do with this data, though?
Cool. So there's a couple of different things. So I was showing a word cloud. If you make them categorical, like the home worlds and the things that are repeated, it opens up a few more possibilities for plotting. So like it'll group the data sort of appropriately. So for example, maybe people are bigger from different worlds. Like let's look at home world and mass. I don't know. So this is just what I do. I don't actually know what in the world I want usually. I just click around and see what kind of plots are available. So let's look at, I don't know, what did I just pick? Scatter histogram. Whoa, maybe that wasn't the best one. It's a lot of stuff. So it's basically a scatter plot with, a histogram. So this is the weight. So this for sure is like an outlier, right? And you don't really see much of a pattern here in terms of...
So this is the weight of the characters versus the characters themselves. And you see Nalhata, which is a hut, which is a large individual.
Yep.
They're really that outlier.
Exactly.
Right.
Let's see if we can do that on a... Oh, wait. Let's do a grouped scatter plot. The species, yeah.
So
okay, that was not the right thing.
Here's an interesting question we have. Can we rank which planet the most characters are from?
Ooh, yes. Okay, so let's do that. So we just pulled in the people data. So we'll go and pull in some more data just for fun to compare more. There's a bit of code on the in the file exchange that's just tests. But what's cool is it's a script-based unit test, so you can actually just run the script. And it'll, just run all the code. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry about that. The black line. Anyway, so if you just run Swappi Read tests, it'll just go through and pull all the data. So we'll have the, people, the films, the planets, things like that. And then what was the final question?
So the question was, how many characters from each planet are there? So which planet has the most characters?
Gotcha. Yep. So. It's always every Friday I get a recommendation for
problem. While it's doing that, so we have questions about the data set itself. So, we'll take a little bit of a dive into the Star Wars data set to see what you can get here. Now remember, this is open source and available to everyone, and the code for this is on File Exchange that'll lead you to get and import that data.
Yep. So it came from the Swappi Database, which is largely from Wikipedia. And then, so it's broken up basically by people, planets, species, and then they're associated. Like, because it's kind of a database schema, there are like, where you see the URL links. Originally there are URL links, and then in the code, I go through and just like label them. So, it kind of shows the schema, and then it sort of helps with analysis. So you can sort of choose, it's basically the same information sort of crossed the different data sets. But yeah, so we have the people information that you see here, the species information with, more, humans are, have an average lifespan of 1,000 years. No, that's not true.
Wow.
I don't know who that was.
Oh, that was a hut.
Oh, that's a hut. Oh, yeah, exactly. They'll live
live
forever.
forever.
And then vehicles and starships. So I do have, if no one else has other questions, eventually we could predict the cost of like a speeder or something like that based on some of our like starship information. But because there's a lot of like, cargo capacity, things like that, that influence the cost of like the Death Star was like a lot of money. Yeah, so it's really fun. So the one thing that we need to do to like compare these things, so there's code. We won't jump into the graph quite yet, but there's code on there on the file exchange that sort of helps rearrange the data. So for example, we'll read the Last Jedi data. So there's a bit of code so because it wasn't in the database, that's okay. I just scraped the website and just pulled out some of the character information from there. So it just adds in some of the characters that were more famous, and it took me an extremely long time to do that when I could have literally just watched the movie and like typed them in, but it was worthwhile.
But for those at home who might be interested in scraping data from websites, can we take a look at some of that code?
Sure, no problem. Okay, so this is similar kind of path. Oh my gosh, okay, I really need to fix that. Sorry, preferences. What is this? Okay, I don't know. Okay, I just can't think. Anyways,
but
so
I mean-
I'd basically just bring in the whole HTML page. There's a lot of clever ways to do these things. I did not do it in a clever way. Wait, what just happened?
Well, it just goes to show that MATLAB allows you to do all these things in multiple ways that you're most comfortable with.
Exactly. So it's just the HTML whenever I read it this way. So, you can kind of go through and see where the tags are. I didn't have patience for that, so I just used, there's extract HTML text in the text analytics toolbox that just finds it. There's also, within WebRead, I think you can even identify table tags or whatever. But then I use the string data type, and there are a lot of good, you don't have to use regular expressions, basically. That, I made it through the whole thing. So it's just using, split to kind of put it on different rows. I just found the cast, and then it has, I don't know, some actor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. Why wouldn't I remember that one? I really definitely remember Ewan McGregor, totally.
Yes.
But, so I was able to just parse, after as, that's the character name. So don't make fun of my variable names, char names 1, char names 2, char names 5. Just, leave me alone.
Well, it's again, it's all about comfort. It's all about how easy we can make it for you.
Exactly. Just getting it done.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyways, the code's there for you to check out. Probably I spent a lot more time trying to add it to the data. So the thing is with this data is, it's sort of, I call it ragged, where, MATLAB is fundamentally matrix based, right? It wants everything to be rectangular and kind of flat. So that's how matrix calculations work, right? And so whenever you have, this is here we have films, right? Luke Skywalker has been in 5 films. So, it's sort of hard to figure out how to organize that, which is why this is interesting data.
Right.
It's fun. So, at this point we have to figure out, do we want to expand that? If we're going to compare all the films and all the vehicles or whatever, we want to have those things be the same size, right? So, for example, if we were trying to do, oh my God, okay, now the question was, planets.
How many characters from each planet?
Yes, characters from each planet. Okay, so we can go to people. Oh, okay, that one's a lot easier. Because we actually just have that one already flat. Okay. So I think we showed a word cloud earlier. I think that's the most fun for me. So it's immediately apparent that Naboo and Tatooine and Unknown are the ones that have the most characters. Because I'm in the people data, so it's I can just sort of count them like that.
And you just did this all directly in MATLAB without typing any code.
Exactly. So I didn't type anything, and if you look on the if you're clicking them like this, it'll actually show you the code that you would write if you want. And obviously you can write the code, but it's just faster to
So you can
explore
totally
like
do
this
it
for
quickly
me.
through the interface or extract the code. That's awesome.
Exactly. And if you, for the counts, if you actually get the output of word cloud, it'll give you the number. So word data and size data, the size is the number of times. And you could use unique. We could use all sorts of things. What is that? People dot. Oh wait.
So that's a list of the actual unique different planets.
Yes,
Okay.
and then we would count them from there. So you could do group summary is another one that we could do. Actually, let me go to the live editor for this. Yeah, people. That's what I wanted.
Now you're using the live editor right now,
Yes.
which is another editing capability where you can write a live script in MATLAB. And we have a lot more information about live scripts and live editor on our website as well.
Yeah, and the reason I stopped or I wanted to go back here was because I didn't want to have to go to the documentation, although I love it a lot. I just wanted to kind of have the stuff pop up so I would remember what order I needed to put things in. So that's one nice thing. If you haven't used the live editor yet, it might be handy for that.
Automated feature so that it automatically determines what variables you have. That's awesome.
I think it's called tasks or live suggestions or something like that. But so anyways, I'm doing calculations by group right now since it was, people from home worlds. So I'll use home world as the grouping variable, and then we have some different options we could use. So what do we want? Just the name? That's not it. Oh, right. Okay.
I'm realizing some of the interesting questions that we're getting now about using deep learning and AI with the Death Star.
Ooh, interesting, interesting. I like it. So what do we want to know about the Death Star?
Well, the question is actually, can we deep learn a better Death Star? And obviously with data, more information you can. But we could probably use some kind of level of AI and machine learning in terms of the data set that we do have to determine things like, well, you're going to show later about estimating a cost, for example.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. All right, what am I doing here? I got distracted because we're starting to talk about interesting things. I'm trying to figure out how many, there we go. How many counts for each. Oh my God, what the heck? All right, never mind. We'll move on. So that would be an easy thing if I knew what I was doing.
With the word cloud, you actually showed that there was a way to quickly type that in.
Yep. So the word counts? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, so how would I then see the exact count there?
So size data. So it gives back the object, and then you just access it with the dot and the name. Of course, that you want to line those up with the names, but that gives you a good idea.
Yeah.
So, all right, I like these ideas. I will. Oh yeah. So I was kind of going. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, please. I wanted to see the spaceship. Actually, I'm kind of excited about that.
Well, so I did start going down this path about the sort of ragged arrays, but I wanted to show kind of finish that thought a little bit. So this was a little bit easier to look at the people from their home worlds. And count them up. Well, maybe not because I was getting distracted.
My fault. I'm sorry.
No, it was a really good distraction, really good one. So if we wanted to look at the characters in the films, so if you had seen the graph that we had on the link, we want to see how many times characters appeared in films that might make them more important or whatever. So if we can compare the names and the films, but it's not the same size, right? So the functions usually expect some kind of similarity and rectangularity. So anyway, I have a function in the repo that it's called flatten, for lack of a way to even describe that. But it basically just says which one do you want to expand or make rectangular, and then you get this data back. Oh, I guess I could just show it right here. So you see that it's kind of it just sort of copies. It's a little bit naive, but it just copies the information so that we have the same amount of. Oh my gosh, my patience is not good enough for this. Okay, I'll just go back to do the other one.
Well, that's one thing I do like about the scripts that you wrote for this, is that it really does a good job of taking that scrape data and adding it to the original data set to give that complete picture. And that one of the hardest things I've always had struggles with. So I'm going to be using this a lot for reference.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I like about this example, is because it's really it's actually kind of complicated in a lot of ways. It's just oh my gosh, that's true. What do you actually want to do with your data? I mean, I don't know, I guess it makes sense in this case because we're counting to have it repeated, but a lot of times you wouldn't want that. You would want to have missing data. So it's just, there's a lot of decisions, and it, like you said, it's just hard. It's just life. It's unstructured. So yeah, now I've expanded it, and now I can compare the films and the names. So should I finish my graph real quick?
Yes,
and
yes,
then we'll move on?
please.
Okay, so since I did that, so I wanted to look at, you basically have counts of how many times each character appeared in a film. So again, seeing which films are sort of the most connected and which characters are the most connected. So you can use a graph or a digraph, which is directed graph, and it basically does all of the, computations. It's like a combinatorics or linear algebra method where it's counting up how many nodes and edges. Each person, each planet would be a node, and then, or each movie or whatever it is would be a node, and then you have connections between them. So it does all the calculations for that. So what's cool is that you can do further calculations from the graph. So you can figure out the degree of connectivity. You can figure out the minimal short path. So it's really, really useful. It's really awesome math. But you can visualize it. Usually I just make it and visualize it. If there's an error, I fix it. There's always errors for me. But you can quickly see that it made a cool graph.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. You can zoom in and see some of the people, like there's Attack of the Clones, there's the Phantom Menace. You can see Jar Jar is the thing that brings us all together here.
So this is showing us the connection of all these characters based on the movies that they were in.
Right, and it's largely exactly. So you can see Jar Jar was in Attack of the Clones and the Phantom Menace. That person. Oh wait, how about Django? Since we were talking about him, he was just in Attack of the Clones, so he's kind of out on his own, and
right.
his degree is only 1.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it works. And then I had some code.
I guess we should say something about this graph is spoilers alert if you haven't seen the movies.
Oh yeah. So yeah, like that happened with I made one for the Marvel movie, and I was like, ooh, sorry guys, because I scraped that one from IMDb, which was like, that really tells a lot about what characters are going to be there. So I just made some code to increase the size of the nodes based on the degree of connectivity, and just increase the size and make it look awesome. So if you kind of take a quick look, what do we want to look at here? So it was weird. We were talking about this earlier. The the prequels were a little bit more connected. So there's also, we suffer a bit from the amount of character data that we have. So, it would be much more connected if we had the full list, but that we don't have enough data. So, this is much more rich data for a smaller list of characters. But anyways, there's a lot of similar characters in the original or the prequels, my bad. And then sort of less, you can see they're less, the nodes are smaller over for the original series and the new ones. So, the people that you might expect are in the middle, like Yoda and Obi-Wan, Leia, my favorite. But, again, and also you can see, again, terrible job, Heather, scraping this data. I mean, it's good enough for just doing it in a couple days. Well,
I think it's
great
hours. Because it would have taken me at least a couple weeks to figure it out.
Well, I literally could have just typed it in from watching the movie. But so the Last Jedi and the Force Awakens are very connected. So it's kind of Poe and BB-8 and all the fun people and Rey that were introduced appeared in the next movie. So you can kind of see that those are sort of friends. They're kind of over here together, and then the others are sort of distributed around. So it's just. I love it. I think things like this are really easy, intuitive, applications of graph, because it kind of makes sense. You could do this for, I did another example where I looked at people in their home worlds, and well, let's actually just do that. I'll just add it in here. So, graph, and go, while you're.
So I just wanted to highlight something on my screen, actually, is that I've been following along doing all this stuff on MATLAB Online. So as you can see here, I've been doing this graph.
Oh yeah, we'll switch over to Hisham.
Yes, if you can.
Yeah.
Right, and so as you see here, same type of graph that I've been doing there. I've been running in the same interface, the live script that was with all this information there. Again, this is part of the file exchange entry. And this here is my MATLAB drive, which all my files are being stored in. And all this stuff is accessible through the web. So this is not a MATLAB that I have installed. This is 19B, latest version that I'm running through my browser. Yeah. So I just wanted to highlight that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Now let's go back to your awesome analysis.
Thanks. Yeah, so I could have done it, I should have been doing all this in MATLAB Online. That's fun.
Oh, no, it's good to show them both. And how, yeah. Whatever, cool. Again, whatever you want.
One thing I love about MATLAB Online is that it obeys my background in Firefox. So I use Firefox a lot, and it's still it looks really cool. It has a black background, blue buttons and stuff. Anyway,
I'm a novice when it comes to browsers. So.
It's pretty cool. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, well, I guess if we're back on my screen, yep. I wanted to just show one more example of a graph. Of course, this is how my life is. Let's just do it because it's life. So we'll remove missing data. And then
someone actually asked about dealing with missing data.
that
and
is
stuff.
brilliant.
Yeah.
So, okay, perfect. So this case, I just want to get rid of it because it's just easier and it's less things to think about. And obviously I can't type and talk, as you have surely realized now. But so RM missing that I'm using here, this will just totally get rid of every row that has any missing data in it at all. So of course that may not be good if you don't want that. If you have a lot of sort of like checkerboards or like scattered missing data, you have some options where you have like the minimum number of missing variables that, you know, say you only get rid of it if it has like 5 missing variables. And then you also have fill missing. So if you want to, you know, there's a bunch of options for fill missing. Even if you're using the most recent version or MATLAB Online, I could be lying, live tasks.
Oh, no, yeah, live
Oh
tasks.
yeah, okay. I never know.
Yeah.
That should work, totally.
Yes.
I'm like always in between
Oh, yeah, no.
releases. But there's also this, you can just choose, like, if you went to the live editor and go to tasks, you can choose this clean missing data. You can see some of the like common messy data stuff. And then you can just select it from here and decide what you want to do.
So, and this is a new feature in 19b, right?
Yeah. Yes, 19b.
Yeah. And it's for the live editor?
Yes. So yeah, it's just in the live editor. So you'll see it from the tool strip.
Okay.
And yeah, just check it out. And then I think there's a couple videos, there's examples, so you can play around. But it's kind of like a baby app that you just, stick in and go to town.
Great. And again, MATLAB Online for your desktop, or MATLAB Online and MATLAB Desktop both have the same capabilities here.
Exactly. So that's, it's nice because again, I feel like it's very interactive. Like you're not sure what you want to do with missing data until you have it in front of you and you're kind of like, I don't want to get rid of all of it. I don't know if it makes sense to fill some, like maybe I want to fill some, get rid of some. So that kind of helps a lot with trying to, figure out what you want to do. Okay, so I got rid of all the missing data and now I made my graph again. So no more errors. And this one's fun. So this is name and homeworld. So you can see, it looks like little flowers. Isn't that fun?
Oh, really? Okay.
Look at a little Tatooine, it's fun. Okay, so yeah, that makes sense. Oh, R2-D2 was born on Tatooine.
Okay, so you see all the connections of each character by, I guess, every movie where they're associated with that planet?
Yeah, so I think this is just homeworlds.
Okay.
So there's some that are like, it's a little bit weird.
So R2-D2 has been to Naboo
Oh, wait.
several times.
Oh, no, I think that's where he's from.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but
Yeah.
that's what it says anyway, the homeworld. So that makes sense for like the Skywalkers, right? And Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen.
Yeah.
You can also do different like types of plots, or let me think if that's in the plot or if that's in the graph. I can't remember. But so there's force plots and like different ways that you can, no, that's not it. Plot type, I forget what it is. But there's like a thing where you can just change the way that it's being manipulated. So that's one idea too. Like if you do a circle plot, actually it's layout, I remember. Why is it being so difficult for me today? Yeah, anyways, it's just another way to play around and see the different visuals. Okay. Anyways, we don't have to carry on with the graph. We can move on to other questions.
So I would like to see more about the vehicles, that demonstration you were going to be showing.
All right, totally. Okay, so let me just close all this crap. Okay, and look at the vehicles. So we can actually put them together. So the starships, I kind of think of them as the same thing. I don't know. Let's look at this together. So like, a sand crawler and, the Death Star and the Millennium Falcon. So like, to me, they're all just vehicles and they mostly have the same variable names and variables, so we could just kind of concatenate. And yeah, I think it's pretty interesting because it's like, sort of what you would expect to have like in a car. So I was kind of trying to make an app where it would be like, okay, like I want to buy a snowspeeder this week. Like how much is that going to cost? So I guess we could do that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, so I'm going to pull up my command history because I did it last night. So I'm just going to cheat. And here, we'll do this. Okay, so I said I wanted to change the vehicles, or just combine, oh my gosh. Okay, you can see how much craziness I had. Here we go. Okay, that's not it. Okay, maybe that's too complicated. We'll just pick one. So I'll come back whenever I don't want to like bore everybody with my inability to find my craziness.
No, but again, that's another thing too that you can do in MATLAB is find your history and just go from there and create actually a script out of that entire history if you wanted to.
Yeah, so I know, at least I know not to use those red ones because those are the errors. But basically I just needed to do a couple little silly things to put them in the same, I guess I should just do it. But I don't want to, I don't know, it's boring. I just want to do the regression.
No, let's go. Let's do regression.
All right, fine. I should have made a script. What was I thinking? I don't know. I was drinking wine and playing with Star Wars data. Okay, so I just opened the regression learner, so we want to predict the cost of a vehicle.
Right.
All right. So let's go with vehicles. Sure.
And vehicles are different from starships.
Starships. Well, they have different. Actually, let's go with starships because I think it has more variables, so it's maybe more accurate.
We can go to different planets. It wants to be stuck on one planet.
Exactly, and it just has more data. It's like hyperdrive reading. So I don't want anything without a hyperdrive. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
I'm not interested.
Regular speed, too slow.
Exactly. All right, so we're predicting cost and credit, so that's the response. Also, I did this very quickly, but this is the regression learner app from Statistics Toolbox. So you can just open it up and start clicking on things, basically, and mess around with your data. So I'm just making sure, like, do we model, manufacturer, sure, these seem all like reasonable things to include.
And so basically what you're going to be doing is looking at all the starships and basing their cost on all the variables that you've selected.
Exactly.
And then come up with a model for us to determine what it might cost. That's great.
Exactly. So, you know, you can imagine the hyperdrive rating would influence the cost. Sure, makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, so this is great if you're just starting out or have never even thought of machine learning because you can just try different models and do things. I'm not going to do parallel right now. I didn't open my pool yet. But you can see you can try all different kinds of models. It'll just work with your data. This was clearly not a very good one.
Yeah.
And one thing, of course, with this, there's a very big outlier in the Death Star. It's very expensive. I feel like it kind of put the Empire on like a bad path for economic safety or whatever in the future, but that's neither here nor there.
They got the credits.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that's one thing. We could go back and get rid of that data point and have probably a better, more successful model. You know, again, you could just try all of them. Like sometimes, whatever. We don't have to go into it. But boosted trees are great for.
Right. But so you're using different methods of training a model here.
Yep. So and you know, I do know a little bit about it, but I don't really need to. I can just try them all out and see what happens. You can see it's not doing all that great. Again, it's being influenced somewhat by the outlier. And whenever I combine the data together, it's a little bit better. So I'll actually make sure I put the code for this on the file exchange entry as well. But yeah, so you can take a look at the success. I mean, obviously this one was not predicted well, and the rest of them are all okay. But yeah, makes it so that you can pretty easily get something going.
Yeah.
And then you can also export the model, generate the function, so that you can, if you wanted to repeat this over and over, you can just use this function.
And again, you did that without typing any code. MATLAB created the code for you.
Exactly.
Based on your decision on how you wanted to train that model.
Exactly. So it's a good way to, I mean, obviously you can just look up in the doc and like start from there. Or you can tweak the code, but you know, again, it kind of makes it just fast. So I can do all this in less than an hour in a live stream.
Yeah.
Cool. So what, any other questions?
Well, one question's about classifying new characters. A lot of questions about things like the regression learner here about using AI to analyze the data and to get predictive models.
Cool.
So we have here, again, how to use well, someone said Yoda is from Dagobah, and yes, we are aware of that. The question is, where is Baby Yoda from?
Oh.
Yeah,
good one.
That's going to date this live stream. 2019, everybody.
Yeah. Sadly, we don't yet have. I didn't get the data for Baby Yoda. Well,
yeah. And actually, Yoda is not from Dagobah. Yoda lived on Dagobah.
yeah.
He went there afterwards. He didn't live there during
Wait,
the
so do we know? So we just don't know where his home world is.
Well, what does it say in the data?
Yeah, let's look. I could be clever, and oh my gosh, what am I looking at here? Here he is, and he is home
He's
world is
unknown. And I have to agree with that.
Interesting. All right, if anybody knows or anybody figures it out, chime in. We can.
Let's try to build.
I haven't watched
database.
The Mandalorian yet, so I don't know. For me, Baby Yoda is in our heart. That's where he was born. So you know.
Yeah.
He's just born of the Force. That doesn't really have a home world. I don't know.
It's a midichlorian count.
Good one though. I love it.
All right, and if we could look at some of the characters, some analysis here.
Sure.
Yeah.
One thing I like is the planets. So we'll go back to some of the characters in a second. Because I always thought it was funny that Tatooine is like just desert and Dagobah is like just a swamp. So if we look at the planet data, sure enough, that's also true.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Could we do a model to look at each planet in each movie to get an estimate of if there's a new movie that comes out, say The Rise of Skywalker, that planet might show up?
Yeah. Yeah. So, we won't do it right now because we only have a few minutes left before you have a meeting.
But that's homework for everyone at home. If you want to try that out.
But that's actually great because, this, it leaves a lot of room for that kind of thing. I was trying to do it. I didn't have enough time, but now I have a new project for next week, I guess. I was trying to make like a weather predictor for the planets. But again, that's kind of like each one just has its own climate. But that's also kind of similar where you could say, so you would use the film data. I'm trying to think of like what would be the most influential model or variables for the model. But yeah, I would just try different variables to see how it impacts the model. Yeah,
right.
Why not?
And there are limitations. For example, we cannot predict the plot of the next movie. So
no, that's true. But maybe we can. So we do have the data from the opening crawl. So maybe we could do some. We can definitely do some text analytics. So you can see that.
Wow.
There's a lot of Skywalker. Let me make that lowercase real quick so we can see it even better. So this is all the opening crawls. So maybe we can like predict that. Oh my God, that would be awesome. Oh, we just don't have enough data though, because you use like a GAN, like a general, a deep learning network to like predict. So that would be really awesome. But I feel like we don't have enough data for that. But maybe I don't know. Maybe we can figure it out. I think this leaves a lot of good ideas.
Yeah. So we have
do this again.
Good chance for all that stuff.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Anything else? I mean, I feel like we're almost.
Yeah, I think in the few minutes we have left, someone's asking, can they write their own crawl? And this leads to a question that I was asking you before we started this live stream: is if you could show that opening graph that you had.
Oh, right. Yeah. What did I do with that? Here it is. Oh my gosh, I keep clicking on the wrong thing. I'm like totally losing it today. It's the hair buns, I swear. So wait, where was it?
The opening plot?
Oh, I didn't even run that section.
Yeah.
So you could do something like this,
So this isn't a picture, by the way.
Oh, right.
This is actually a plot.
It's a plot, right here. So it's actually really easy. So you could take the text from that. You could just, update the plot. If I have some time, go ahead.
If we change Galaxy to MATLAB, just the word.
Oh, yeah. I love it. Home. Okay. Oh my God. Okay, that's not what I wanted to show. Very good. Yeah. See, very nice. So yeah, you could do that. Loop through. Just change the positions. The code is there to show the positioning of the text. Go for it. Yeah. And then there's even a code with the graph to save as a GIF. So if or a GIF if you prefer, but it's like, ridiculous. You can. I think you should definitely do that and share it. It would be awesome. Yeah.
So definitely let us know what exciting things that you've been trying. And again, the data set and all of Heather's amazing code is already available on the. The data set is on the Star Wars API, and Heather's, like I said, this amazing force-filled code is available on the file exchange.
Thanks, Sham. I like to have my work being appreciated.
Oh, like I said, it takes me so much to do all this stuff. So this is always going to be in the reserve in my MATLAB drive for when I need to have that that capability.
Yeah, but honestly, that's the other thing that's pretty messy data and interesting. So definitely feel free to use it and share. Put some of your code and ideas, and we can always do this again sometime.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Thanks, everyone. This was really fun, and come back again.
Again.
Thanks. See ya.
Thanks, everybody.